Hi everyone, thank you for joining us for part 4 of our 4-part podcast series, where we've been spending the last few sessions discussing connecting with a vision of the future. So being a tumultuous time where we're being very challenged in terms of being in more of a fight or flight state, and some very challenging things happening in our worlds, personally and collectively. We felt this is a really important time to focus on connecting with the vision of the future that we actually want to create. And the part that we come to today is the part where we're going to discuss having a grounding place to actually take physical real world actions towards that, creating that future, or creating the vision of the future that you feel connected with, that you feel called, that you feel most passionate about creating for your family. And it's really never been more important than now to connect with what's important to us and what we value and what we want to be bringing through to create here, you know, on the planet. So a grounding place to facilitate the shift toward this vision. So maybe tuning into these discussions has been hopefully serving as a grounding place for you to connect with whatever your vision is. And what are some other, today we're going to discuss some other ways you can connect with that and bring in the tools and the resources required. Does anyone want to jump in and contribute at this point?
I hear the words that you're using, Melissa: grounding place, tools, and we're at the fortunate position in Melbourne of being in the springtime area, for want of a better word. I know that it's a very European idea, but the idea is new life is coming about. And in the stark reality of kind of lockdown, which has felt very closed and dark and held in, we have this real sense of something springing out, and it's very intense. It's very stark, the relationship between the holding down and the springing up. And so for me, so I can relate it directly to my life, that at the beginning of this week I planted vegetables. And I've got a tiny little patio garden and pots, and I used every available bit of soil to plant veggies in. And I think that, you know, these are not little things. It's a profound thing to get your hands in the earth and to be connected to nature, and just to live in the rhythm of planting and caring for and bedding down plants. You know, the gestures that we use are it's what you're doing to yourself. You're planting something in yourself. You're bedding down things in yourself. So I think it's really important that our vision is constantly humbled by very real, practical, tiny baby steps that are actually very profound. Because if my vegetable garden is going to give us vegetables for the next few months, that's going to be amazing. We don't know how things will be in the future, but we're certainly taking control now with the little bits of soil that are around and making them alive. So I think a grounding place is just, let's get down to basics, and to realize that basics are profound, and that if they're practiced and done every day, like you have to water your plants, look after them every day, just that little thing, and that you involve your children in that experience, in painting little holders or little signs of what you've planted, everything around that, and then celebrate.
Okay, I think Carol, yep, you're back. We lost you there for a little bit. Did you want to just recap how you finished that off? No. Well, whilst we're waiting for Carol, I can just share a similar sort of experience. my way of maintaining this connection and this flow is through routine and rhythm, as Carol mentioned. They're the words that I heard. With the lockdown that we've experienced, that routine and rhythm has really been challenged. And some mornings I might have woken up and had that sigh and go, I don't know what I don't know what I'm going to do today, which is totally out of character for me. And then the problem is my children would say, "What are we doing today, Jake?" And I'm like, I don't know. We're gonna have breakfast. We'll start there, and then see what else happens. Whereas usually we're in this really nice early childhood rhythm and routine. Hi, Carol. I'm just taking off where we lost you. And the early childhood routine is really lovely. That's why I am an early childhood educator, is because it's been so grounding for me. The children come into care, and we do our routine, and it builds on itself year after year, and we learn new things to add to the routine. For example, Carol has been speaking about spring, and I've got a pretty standard spring program where we plant sunflowers and then we watch them grow. We've planted some in some jars, and we can see the roots coming out now, and that was included in one of our songs in Circle Time. But also we've been learning about the Indigenous seasons, and that's really added a new level of experience for me personally, and it's deepened my connection with place in ways I didn't realize was possible. So in autumn there's the bark harvesting season, and the bark would be stripped off the trees. That's the right time to take the bark. They don't take bark too close to the summertime because that would be damaging to the tree, and they know which they take it on the south side of the tree so that it won't be burnt in the summer. And there's all these real interconnections that Indigenous people knew about the land. But for us, that craft at time, it was stripping the bark and basket weaving and just doing these crafty things, was something that I experienced naturally anyway around autumn. So autumn for us is Easter, where there's usually lots of crafting going on, and then leading into winter, where there's lots and lots of craft activities. It's all about craft and getting fleece and felt and sewing and whatnot. And then we sort of in spring, in Anglo Spring, we drift away from that, and it's back out into nature and watching things grow, and that's great. But the Indigenous seasons provide that extra bit of connectedness to this place that we're at now, and the insights are really incredible. And I'm trying to explain it, but I'm still a learner, and it's really about connecting with Indigenous people who hold this wisdom and that connection to the land. And you can really feel it as you attend a workshop or speak with an Indigenous person with that knowledge. So I think part of that tool of routine and rhythm and creating these connections is still possible today in this format, like as we're speaking to people now on the screen. And then we need to sort of come up with a really good way of taking that information and taking it back into nature. And that's the challenge we've got. And it's something, we're developing now, which is exciting.
Thank you. And what you say about connecting with the Indigenous wisdom, or the First Nations or whatever, there's so many different names they have these days. But when I went on Year 11 camp at 17, and we travelled up Central Australia and up to Uluru, and so this was about 2 weeks of travelling up, and then we came back down on the train. That whole process awakened something within me. And ever since then, I've had a fascination with, it's almost like the key that had been missing previously, because we're born on this land as well, but we don't get access to that way of being, a way of being on the land. And so, it awakened something in me, within me, and I've always had this fascination. I've always been drawn to it, but even I kind of didn't pursue it extensively. But what's happening now seems to awaken that within me again, like a deeper layer of that. And I feel like for me, for probably the last 5 years at least, I've always had this vision and this drive to be living amongst community, you know, to be doing life together as a tribe, I've always been very firm on the concept that when it came time for me to have children, that it would be amongst a tribe and that way of living. And whilst it was always there, I wasn't yet taking steps toward creating it, apart from creating the Natural Nanny Network, which is kind of an extension of that vision. And since this whole process began with COVID, that's another thing that's been reawakened within me, is that vision. And it seems almost more urgent in a way at this point in time. And something that's actually been a really beautiful gift throughout this whole process is it's kind of pushed me. It's like been a natural, organic push toward actually taking steps towards that. So similar to you, Carol, I haven't got 100 baby seedlings yet, but I've planted some strawberries, and I'm raising some tomato seeds, and I've planted some silver beet where I hadn't done that before. So, and having these conversations and being more present online, on social media and in these spaces with this vision, because I feel like it's almost a collective vision, because I'm noticing it's quite profound how many people I'm hearing now say that people I hadn't ever thought might see, see things from this perspective of connecting to the earth, starting to say they're feeling to move away from the built up areas and live more connected to the land and create communities. I'm hearing it so much now. So it's really coming through at this point in time to reconnect as a community, as by way of creating mini communities. And one of the things actually I do to keep feeding that vision is my morning meditation, where I tune into making space to visualize that vision. And then this beautiful meditation of Joe Dispenza's I do is you connect with your vision of the future. And then there's an evening meditation you do where you reflect on your day and tune into the moments of your day where you were kind of in alignment to your vision, and notice the parts of your day where I felt out of alignment. And it's kind of a really beautiful, like, retuning as you go along. And as a result of doing that, like, I've seeming to have attracted conversations like this beautiful podcast we're creating now, which really gives voice to that vision. Because when we give voice to something, it gives it movement. It's not just sitting within us. So it's really quite a powerful process, part of the process.
Yeah, just think of three words from one of Steiner's meditations. As you say that, it starts with foster the seed points. And I used that for so many years. 3 little words actually out of a longer one, but I just found that was really important. And in fact, Melissa, you just mentioning us together, like when I've been feeling through the COVID thing, I really want to align myself with anybody that has a voice that is like gold. It's like I can really notice the gold in this time, because there's so much noise and so much static. And when I went on your website and then I heard your voice, I immediately wrote to you, because I just foster the seed point. There's gold. You could have said I'm too busy. I haven't got time. But you responded straight away. And and then I just felt when we were talking that Jake belongs in this group. And Jake, it would be interesting to hear what happened for you, but you just so seem to be so happy to jump in. And it's been a kind of a thing made in heaven in a way. And I think that's what's happening, is that through the starkness, through the lack of distraction in a strange way, we have an opportunity to reset and to choose what's a priority. And I feel that in a way that kind of happens when you have children, is that you can't do everything. And all the things I used to love, I'd realize that my baby did not fare well if I did them. If I went and did chaotic things at any time, I had to really take care of the rhythm of the day. And it wasn't, I also made up my mind I wasn't ever going to sacrifice, because that turns into a horrible emotional codependent relationship with your children, is if you feel like you're sacrificing for them. So it was really, I'm going to do it because I really want to do it. And because in the end, it also serves me, because they'll sleep better and life will be more harmonious with them during the day. But it was about saying, okay, these things are not essential anymore. They're absolutely not. Because what's essential is that this little baby comes to earth feeling supported, safe, loved, healthy, strong. That was the essential. And nothing else mattered. Friendships, whatever, actually, they're not as important unless they helped to nourish me. If they didn't nourish me so that I could give more to my child, then why do it? So I think it's a really important time for resetting and saying, what do you really want to do? What's really important? What's essential? And do it with your whole heart. Open-heartedness, not, oh, well, I'll try it and see, and I can always pull out if I don't like it. But it's kind of really, here it is. So I think it's I don't want this to end without having learned what I need to learn. That's the weird thing. I mean, I want this to end now. I want to be free, absolutely. But another part of me that's growing wiser says, make sure you take all the opportunities you need to now, because when the doors open, when the gates open, if they ever do, you're going to have to make choices and decisions. And do you know what they're going to be centered around? What's going to be important? So, yeah.
Can I jump in? My attraction here with this group is that I have a tendency, maybe a male tendency, to go off grid. When the social distancing happened, being an introvert, I wasn't too worried about that so much, and I have a tendency to really close down, which isn't healthy. And what I've found, what my lesson from it is that the play group that we were running really lifted me up. Everyone was there. I might have been a bit apprehensive to do it each week, but once I was there, I got a lot of energy out of it. And it's kind of like almost being dragged along, but to my benefit. And I feel like every time we meet, I'm lifted up. And there's these helping hands to say, no, this is the way. Come on, don't be a loner, and don't drift into oblivion. Stay connected, and then and that transmits into the children. And that's something that I experienced in doing Carol, your course, Carol, Nourishing Early Childhood, 7 years ago or so, was that each week you get a top up, of just being in that group of other parents and with Carol, inspiring and talking about these issues, and finding tools to navigate the next week. And then that was on Wednesday nights, wasn't it? And then by Sunday you kind of running on empty and just waiting a couple of days until Wednesday night. And even though that was quite late, it was finished at 10:30. you came out energized, I came out energized, and I had enough to get through to the next week. And I think that's what we want. That's what you guys do for me, for sure. And what I'm missing from the world right now is that being off grid for this long really flattens the energy, just flatter and flatter and flatter and flatter. You know, what's the purpose of getting up in the morning? You know, you really feel that a depression is what it is. And having that connection is what lifts you up. You know, you're being noticed, or having your awareness noticed by other bodies of awareness, and then finding that connection and lifting each other's energy up, or vibrations, or however we want to call it. And that's what we've been talking about this last couple of weeks, is providing a platform for other parents to tune in and support the work we're doing now, but to be part of that community with a bit more of a oomph, a bit more of a emphasis on building it more and more. And we feel like we can do that through the Patreon site, where with the holistic parenting movement that Melissa's created, to create a place where we can pull together as a community, as a tribe, and then we'll see things come out. We'll see, it's like the garden, and we'll be planting seeds in there. We're planning on writing a book about all the things that we've been talking about, so that they're in one place, and the community can look through it and look back on what we've talked about, and the key themes and ideas that and tools which help you get through the days and the months and the seasons and the years with children. And there's a place, to grow grow the garden, plant the seeds, grow the garden, and then harvest the rewards. And the rewards is that it comes that we're constantly connected. And I think that's the thing at the moment for me, is constant connection. And that can be through the phone, if you like, but as a parent, everyone has experienced that the phone connection, it doesn't translate to child connection, and actually can really get in the way. Every time I pull my phone out, the kids just lose it. So there needs to be a way to keep it real, but also create the connection, and that's the challenge. We feel like we can start that garden on a Patreon page for the holistic parenting movement, and if we get enough seeds in the garden, then we can get a good harvest. What do you think?
Yes, definitely. So the Patreon platform will give us a space off of Facebook that is not censored. We can have uncensored conversations. We can be in the full expression of our humanity without being shut down. So that's partly why we've looked at creating, or actually Jake has been the spearhead of this, really, of creating a space that's on a different platform. And it will also just create a space for being able to, like we said, maybe host community conversations, provide resources, and keep the momentum of this conversation, keep the momentum of being connected with our vision of the future. And part of my big vision of the future is leaving behind a better planet for the children, which is really what fuels everything I do. It's what fueled the creation of the Australian Natural Nanny Network. And it's what fueled me to, when I received your email, Carol, saying you wanted to connect, it's what fueled me to say yes. I just got this full, yes in my body. And it's what fueled me to want to share this podcast series with you guys, because it gives legs to that. It's a beautiful idea and a beautiful vision to want to leave behind a better planet for the children. But there's work to be done in order to achieve that. So I feel that's why these conversations are so important, and connecting with community is so important. And we're actually going to be hosting a holistic parenting summit. So at this stage, it's looking like the end of October. That will actually run via the Facebook, and we'll have a pop-up group, and the sessions will be on Zoom. but we're going to record the sessions and make them available on the Patreon platform after the summit as well. So that will be another opportunity to tune in and just have access to professionals who are working in this realm of holistic parenting. So there are people who are like the work that Jake does in the sleep consultancy, the beautiful work that Carol does with early childhood. There are people who are experts in homeschooling. There's a woman Tan, who is an expert in children's health from a naturopathy perspective. So kind of being able to access professionals in this field, because it's kind of an industry that doesn't really exist yet. It's still being formulated and created. I can't think of a better word than industry at the moment. That's just the best umbrella term we have at this point in time on the planet. And kind of get a bit of a download of tools to fuel you on your own journey and your own mission and your own vision. And whenever your puzzle piece is to that bigger vision and mission that, is so needed for humanity and the planet, like we're each working on our own little piece of the puzzle within that. And the more we can each really have what we need in order to keep being our piece of the puzzle, the more effective we are. So that's really what drives all of this for me.